What's up, guys? It's Zero here, bringing you all a brand new episode of Horror Theory. Welcome, everyone, to Horror Theory, the best horror-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm coming at all of you right here in our quaint studio space, that being Zero Dark. And I'm really excited to be here with all of you guys and girls. Bro, this is still out of date. Homie, this is good news though, guys. We're growing every single show. And it's really cool, man. It's all because of you guys. We are now at 1.42K. Let me check something real quick. Where are we at here? I just want to check something really fast on Stream Elements. Oh, I have it right up. Bro. Got a, I apologize for this, guys, but I got to be better about remembering to update our newest members, as well as our updated subscriber count, because right now, guys, we are at 1.42K on YouTube, which is absolutely awesome. I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of you who has been, subscribing to the channel, becoming members of the channel as well. You guys are really, it sounds like a lot of you are really enjoying this, the shows. You're enjoying the content that we're bringing out, and we're planning on bringing out a ton more content, guys. And so, for those of you who don't know, we run 3 separate channels. So we've got Horror Theory, which we talk about everything in the world of horror, really specifically horror gaming, and give you guys some insight into what it all means. On my personal channel, Animal Zero, I talk about everything in the world of Gears of War. And then on Animal, We're Animal, our team channel, that's where we have everything in the world of the first-person shooters. So FPS, everything. The team was built as a Call of Duty team, but we have expanded into talking about a multitude of different FPS titles and even some GTA 6. So we've got, stuff for, everything when we talk about, from all the things that we are passionate about. We're passionate about horror games. We're passionate about Gears, COD, Battlefield, first-person shooters, third-person shooters. I mean, we're excited about the future, guys, and of course, State of Decay. But with that being said, here's how the show works. Got a couple of predetermined topics that we're going to go over, guys, and I'll be giving you guys my thoughts and opinions on the predetermined topics. And then if you have something that you want to add or it's something you want to comment, you can go ahead, and there is a tip link in the description down below. That tip link helps support the channel, but we will also go ahead and go over those comments or questions live during Horror Theory, as long as we deem it appropriate to do so. And then what's awesome about that tip link, though, is it's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if, if you're watching this as a VOD and you weren't able to catch it as a live show, you can still submit your question and we'll answer it on the next episode. With that down and out of the way, guys, my last thing I want to talk about here that I'm really, that I think is really important for a lot of you guys and girls out there to know that this is happening with Animal. And Heartbroken Hog says, "What's up, Zero? Hope you're doing good, bro. Any chance you stream a co-op campaign of State of Decay 2? It's a great question, man. We are absolutely planning on doing a... Well, you know what? You kind of beat me to it, because we were going to make an announcement. We are, and so it's a great opportunity to kind of do this, man. We are going to start doing a 100-hour series here on Horror Theory, and we're going to start with State of Decay. So we're still trying to decide whether or not we want to do State of Decay 1, State of Decay 2, but we are going to play the game for 100 hours. Not in a row, obviously, but we're going to live stream it. Playing the game 100 hours. We're going to start that here on Horror Theory. We're actually going to do that on Animal as well for Call of Duty. And then on my personal YouTube channel, I'm going to be doing that for Gears of War Reloaded when that releases to the world. So anyways, look, guys, there's a lot of exciting things without question. But one of the things I wanted to go over here is this. Okay, so I'm going to switch screens here. Let's go over this, guys. So here's what we got, guys. We've got a number of things that we want to talk about here today in this episode of the show. But what I want to talk about right now, and something that is very important to me, is State of Decay 3 and Gears of War E-Day, two of my favorite games of all time, are both reportedly going to the PlayStation 5. And I gotta tell you, this might be some of the best news, guys, that we could possibly get. Even though I kind of assumed it with Gears of War E-Day, I had no idea that they were thinking about doing a PlayStation, port for State of Decay 3. And that is such good news, because not only does that lead us to, Gears of War E-Day, more than likely, unless it's a totally, a terrible entry in the series, which I think we're all anticipating that's going to be great. I think it's going to be the biggest Gears of War title of all time. State of Decay 3 coming to PlayStation 5. State of Decay 3, guys, without question, will be the biggest State of Decay game of all time, and it's not even going to be close. And I think that State of Decay is going to go mainstream. I really do. I believe that State of Decay 3 is going to be something really special, especially with it now going to PlayStation 5. You're reaching out to now that entire fan base and all that player base as well. I think it's going to be huge. But let's talk about this. And I want to talk about it from two separate perspectives. I want to talk about State of Decay 3, and I want to talk about Gears of War E-Day and what this means for each of these franchises, because they're both horror games. Even though Gears of War E-Day is a third-person shooter that has a lot of action, it's got a lot of horror elements as well. So we'll talk about Gears of War E-Day, and we're going to talk about State of Decay 3. So let's kind of break this down. In this article that's coming to us from Eurogamer and Victoria Phillips Kennedy over there, PlayStation 5 owners are reportedly getting 2 more Xbox published titles added to their roster. According to a report by MP First, both Gears of War E-Day and State of Decay 3 will be coming to PS5. The publication cited resumes of developers working on each game, with both listing the PS5 as a target platform for their respective titles. This is massive news, guys. And what's interesting is I did a show. Let's see. We did a show, I don't know. It was probably about close to a week ago, where Jeff had mentioned to me on the show that Death Stranding was available on the Xbox. And I was like, wait, dude, Death Stranding's on Xbox? When obviously Death Stranding, for those of you guys who don't know, has been a PlayStation exclusive since the very beginning for, Death Stranding when that game released. And now you have Death Stranding 2 on the Beach that came out. Those are 2 games that came out from Hideo Kojima. And obviously Hideo Kojima now is more than likely working on OD with Xbox Game Studios. But nonetheless, the fact that not only is PlayStation giving Xbox some of their titles, I believe that this is a true truce that's happening right now within the console wars. I believe that. I think what we're seeing right now, if Gears of War E-Day and State of Decay 3 go to PlayStation, I believe that the console wars are kind of over, where now they're trying to live kind of in harmony, so to speak. You have Death Stranding coming on Xbox now. You have Helldivers 2 that's going to be coming to Xbox. Gears of War Reloaded is going to be going to PlayStation. If you have Gears of War E-Day and State of Decay 3, this is just going to be good for these franchises as a whole. I mean, they just are. The exclusivity was always an interesting element to gaming, and it's kind of stemmed back for a number of years. But I think that it was time that these consoles, nothing is really put behind the console in terms of like console exclusive titles. I think that what needs to happen is Xbox and PlayStation create a super console to take down Nintendo. That's what I personally think. But Xbox has been steadily adding more of its games to additional platforms. Last year, Microsoft confirmed its plans to bring 4 previously Xbox exclusive first-party titles to PlayStation 5 and Switch, with more to follow. And they have. Following the successful release of Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush across additional platforms, Microsoft has since released the likes of Forza Horizon 5 and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on PlayStation. Meanwhile, the original Gears of War has been confirmed to be coming to PlayStation later this year as part of the revamped Reloaded edition of the game. And you know what I'm going to say about that, guys, is if I was Xbox or PlayStation, I wouldn't put anything on the Switch. I mean, I know the Switch is a massive console, but if they don't want to play ball with you in terms of like the Switch doesn't want to give up, giving Xbox players Mario or PlayStation fans, Zelda or whatever, right? I think that they should play hardball. They shouldn't, give anything to the Switch. Let the Switch do its thing. It's the highest selling console of all time, and it's not even close. So I really think that, Xbox and PlayStation are starting to, it's interesting. It'll be really interesting to see how this relationship or, how they coexist in the future. But as far as okay, here's what we'll start with. We'll start with Gears of War. So Gears of War E-Day. Interestingly enough, guys, let me just pull this up real quick here. This is giving me a hard time. Okay. So what I was going to say is it therefore would not be surprising to see Gears of War E-Day pop up on PlayStation 5, even if not as a day one release. The next entry in the series is a prequel title set 14 years before the events of the original game. Gears of War E-Day is being co-developed with People Can Fly. Late last year, it was revealed John DiMaggio and Carlos Ferro will be reprising the roles as Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago in Gears of War E-Day, which is awesome. I think that it will come to PlayStation 5 day one. But I also think, obviously it's coming to Game Pass on day one, so people who have the Xbox, if you have the Game Pass subscription, you're going to be able to play Gears of War E-Day day one for free, and that's awesome. But I do think that it will come to PlayStation 5 day one, which it should. Now, State of Decay 3, this leads one to wonder whether the first 2 games in the series may eventually arrive on PlayStation as well. State of Decay 3 was initially announced during Microsoft's 2020 Xbox showcase. Things went dark for a little while, and there were reports alleging mismanagement at developer Undead Labs in 2022. The game subsequently reappeared last year with a new trailer. With State of Decay, it's a little bit, I think I would love to see State of Decay 1 and State of Decay 2 come to the PlayStation. I don't know if they're that being Xbox or Undead Labs or whatever, are going to want to do I don't know if they'll want to do a remaster. I don't like kind of what Gears of War is doing. I just don't think they're going to do that because Gears of War 1 came out in 2006. It came out so long ago. And so having Gears of War Reloaded makes sense. I think that they could very well port it, that being State of Decay 1 and 2, over to the PlayStation before State of Decay 3 releases. So they release 1 and 2 onto the PlayStation consoles, say, a number of months, maybe 6 months, maybe even a year before State of Decay 3 comes out. I could totally see Xbox doing that. To accompany the trailer, studio head Philip Holt teased some of the ideas driving State of Decay 3's development. The first thing that I hope people pick up from the trailer is that there's 4 playable characters we're highlighting, he explained at the time. 3 of them start in different places in the world, so we're implying this idea of a shared world experience, not just a ride-along, and that the boundaries in which you can go off independently are going to be much, much greater than they were in State of Decay 2. So that's going to be interesting. You know, I'm excited to see further gameplay. Obviously, we got a tease of gameplay with the last trailer we got, guys, at the last Xbox Game Showcase of 2024. But obviously, we want to see more, right? And I wouldn't mind, you know, I'm hoping that State of Decay 3 has like a demo, things of that nature that we're able to play at some point, just to make sure that any bugs, glitches, those get refined from Undead Labs. Same thing with Gears of War E-Day. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have a beta. Gears of War has always had, for the most part, betas to play. So I'm hoping State of Decay 3 does this as well. We got a, hey Survivor, big fan of your work. Good job, Central State of Decay. I appreciate you. Appreciate you in a massive way. Thank you, man. But anyways, so I think that, you know, when I look at State of Decay 3, Gears of War E-Day coming to PlayStation, it makes sense for all parties involved. And with PlayStation giving Xbox more and more games, I mean, guys, if we would have went back 1 year ago, if you would have asked me, hey, Zero, will PlayStation ever release Death Stranding on Xbox? I would say, you know, you can never say never, right? You can never say never. But if you were to say, hey, are they going to release it on Xbox in a year? I would have said absolutely not. You know, I think that, you know, Death Stranding, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us, you know, I would never think that those games would get ported to the Xbox, you know, a year ago, right? But now that Death Stranding is on Xbox now, that you can actually get it, and we're getting Helldivers 2, PlayStation's getting Gears of War Reloaded, to me, I'm like, dude, the sky is the limit here, bro. Like, they could absolutely crush it with the player base that PlayStation currently possesses. You put Gears of War E-Day on there, it'll be the biggest Gears of War title of all time. I believe that. I actually think there's a possibility that Gears of War Reloaded will be the biggest Gears of War title ever, and it's like a remaster of Gears of War 1. So that's telling you something. State of Decay 3, I believe, is going to go global if you put it on PlayStation as well as Xbox. I think it will be a full-blown franchise that is here to stay, without question. Like, I believe it will be massive amongst horror fans, because there's a lot of, you know, I think about PlayStation, think about Days Gone. They never got a Days Gone 2. A lot of PlayStation fans, they're clamoring for a game probably like State of Decay, period. And when State of Decay 3 goes on PlayStation, it's going to be absolutely monstrous for the franchise and for PlayStation as well. I think it could be absolutely huge. I really do. I think that both of these games going to PlayStation are going to be massive ordeals for the future. But the question is for all of you guys out there, what do you think about this? The reports are State of Decay 3, Gears of War E-Day are coming to PlayStation 5, which, if it's true, is massive news. And I believed that Gears of War E-Day was going to be coming to PlayStation 5 because of Gears of War Reloaded. And, you know, obviously it seemed like they were kind of teasing us, telling us like, hey, Reloaded's going to PlayStation. Maybe Gears of War E-Day is going to be following suit. But State of Decay 3 is the real surprise. I thought it would be like maybe State of Decay 4 would get onto PlayStation. But things are moving quicker than I thought with Xbox and PlayStation working together on porting their own games onto the other platform. But the question is for you guys, do you think this is true first and foremost? And what do you think this is going to do for State of Decay 3, for Gears of War, and I really should say the SOD and Gears of War franchises as a whole? What do you guys think about it? Let us know in that comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's move into this, shall we? Dr. Dinglehoo, what's happening? What will you be playing SOD on? Cross-platform would be nice, especially if they make more money. Okay. So that's a really, actually, dude, that's a really good question. I believe that I'm going to be playing, let me switch screens here. Without question, dude, we're going to be playing State of Decay 3 on the Xbox, at least at first. Now, if it comes to PlayStation, I mean, I'm sure that we'll probably create some content on the PlayStation about, about State of Decay 3. But I love the Xbox, man. I've been an Xbox fan, my whole life. I certainly love PlayStation for what it is. I think PlayStation has done some great things over the years, just with continuing to kind of adapt and evolve their brand, and they have certainly outpaced and outsold Xbox in a major way, especially with the current gen consoles. But I still love Xbox, guys. Gears of War, that's kind of what got me, Gears of War, Halo, that's what got me started. So I've kind of stuck with Xbox. But over the years, I've gotten into The Last of Us. I love The Last of Us. Obviously, I've got Ellie on the wall back here. I got Marcus over here on the wall. So I love Xbox. I love PlayStation, but I think that State of Decay 3 we will be playing on the Xbox. Agree. Central State of Decay says, agree with you that Undead Labs should launch State of Decay 1 and 2 on PlayStation before SOD 3. Yeah, 100%, man. I just don't see why, why release just State of Decay 3, and people are, obviously if I'm a PlayStation user, right, and I've never heard of State of Decay 3 before, or just State of Decay in general, and State of Decay 3 comes out, it's like, more than likely I'm gonna be like, yeah, well, it's the third game, like, where's the first two games? I've never seen these. But if you give us SOD 1 and 2 first, then I kind of dabble my feet in there and kind of take a look and see what it's all about. Dude, I'll get sold on it by the second game, and then, play the third one, and you're off to the races. Because, we already see what the graphics look like from, just a graphic fidelity perspective. State of Decay 3 is massive improvements. You could even look back on the very first trailer that came out for State of Decay 3. The graphics alone from that, and I know, Undead Labs didn't make that, that trailer and stuff. I love that trailer, by the way. I don't care what anybody says. When they showed us the wildlife in that first trailer, and by the way, we didn't see that in the second trailer, which concerns me a little bit, but nonetheless, that first trailer got me sold. I was like, all right, dude, like, you know what? You got snow, like, there's going to be change of season potentially, mountainous like regions, and then you got undead wildlife. Look, this is gonna be awesome. And the second trailer came, and the graphics, it was just like, wow, this is incredible. Looks absolutely awesome. But nonetheless, I'm very excited about it coming. Not like, I was thinking just coming to Xbox, but it coming to PlayStation as well is going to be monstrous. Releasing on PlayStation is not going to be a bad idea for the franchise in general, but in my opinion, it should be an Xbox exclusive on launch in order to promote Xbox Game Pass. That's an interesting take. I don't know if I agree with it, though, because the way that I see it is what's going to help, like Gears of War, State of Decay, like these Xbox, what have been known as Xbox exclusive titles go to the next level. Well, if you're expanding it to a wide player base, and that other player base, those 75 million units that were sold for the PlayStation 5, if you release that game day one to those people while the hype is there, I think you would have so many people coming into these franchises that Undead Labs and the Coalition are going to be like, dude, we don't even know what to do. Like, they're not even going to be able to handle all the people going to the games, more than likely. Like it's going to be crazy, the amount of servers and everything else that they're going to have to do. There's going to be a lot of growing pains with it. I agree that you want to continue growing Xbox Game Pass, and that, it's a very interesting point. But you know where I think they get you with Game Pass? Let me put it to you like this: where Xbox is gonna crush with Game Pass is Call of Duty. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and Call of Duty Black Ops 8, or whatever Call of Duty comes out in the future, Modern Warfare 4, Ghost 2, Advanced Warfare 2, whatever it is, that's where I think that they can start to continue to build Game Pass. Because it's, if you have the subscription, the games are free. So a lot of people are ravenous about Call of Duty and they want to play it every year. And so I think that's a way where, this year I was thinking maybe Battlefield was going to stand a chance against Call of Duty, but you know what tips the scale for me is Game Pass. Game Pass is, as it's growing year over year, I think that is, Call of Duty is going to be the best-selling game again this year. Now, next year, it won't be, because GTA 6 is going to be the biggest game of all, probably of all time. But anyways, so I agree to an extent with the Game Pass stuff, but I think it'll be interesting, let's put it that way, to see what they decide to do. And then the first SOD3 trailer is the true evolution to State of Decay franchise, the evolution it deserves. I agree. Yeah, 100%. I love that first trailer, and I just really hope that the wildlife, zombie wildlife, are in State of Decay 3. I hope that wasn't just like something that they put into the original trailer and now they're kind of scrapping it. I don't think I think they're going to keep the wildlife. They definitely should. I think that you definitely want to continue finding ways to evolve and adapt the franchise as we move forward here. And I think that's one of the ways that could be really, really cool. But with that down and out of the way, guys, let's move on to this. Let me switch my screens here. So in some unfortunate news within the horror realm, one of my favorite game directors of all time, Glenn Schofield. I don't know if you guys know Glenn Schofield, but this guy is, dude, talk about a game director, man. He directed Call of Duty. I believe he did World War II. He did, was it Advanced Warfare? He's done a number of Call of Duties. He's the Dead Space creator, the Callisto Protocol creator, and he's done a ton of different games that I've loved over the years. Well, guys, there's a possibility that he might be done. In an article coming to us from Darren Bonthes of GameSpot, Dead Space creator Glenn Schofield says he might have directed his last game in the industry. Dead Space creator Glenn Schofield has spoken about the state of the video game industry, revealing how tough times had led to him shelving an idea for a new breed of horror game that he had been working on with his daughter, Nicole. The veteran developer added that he might have directed his last game, The Callisto Protocol, as he had been unsuccessful in securing financial support for his new project after shopping the prototype to investors. It's really sad, man. And the fact of the matter that you have someone like Glenn Schofield, who has, created incredible franchises, in my personal opinion. I believe Dead Space, guys, is one of, if not the greatest, survival horror titles I've ever played. I loved Dead Space for what it was. I thought Dead Space was incredible. The first two were, I thought critically acclaimed. The third game was a step in the wrong direction, but Glenn Schofield was not involved with that. The Callisto Protocol had a lot of really promising things about it. Crafton released the game early. And Glenn Schofield had told them, like, yo, let's not release the Callisto Protocol yet. And they did not give him the time that was needed. And so the game came out buggy, glitchy, issues at launch, and it really hurt the title. It was kind of like a Cyberpunk 2077 situation within the horror realm. And obviously, the Callisto Protocol was not as anticipated as something like Cyberpunk, so they weren't able to withstand the damages, essentially, that came from that. But nonetheless, here's what I'll say about the rest of this. In a LinkedIn post, Schofield explained that he attempted to secure $17 million to finance the game's development, which would be used to recruit a small team of developers. While there was interest in the game, investors wanted to negotiate for a smaller budget, with some companies offering as little as $2 million. So last month we decided to walk away, Schofield wrote. Some ideas are better left untouched than done cheap. We had a team of 6 here in the States and a full crew in the UK. Now everyone's looking for work. They're all talented folks. If you're hiring, let me know. So it's a really unfortunate kind of situation here that kind of transpired. But you know what? When it's of like I gotta say, as an investor, guys, as I've invested, over the years, if you're trying to get $17 million and you're trying to get $17 million for a new breed of horror game, I'm gonna be on the side of, okay, you did Dead Space, and yeah, Dead Space did the first couple of games did really well, but EA states that Dead Space really never turned a profit. I have a hard time believing it, but that's what they say. And the Callisto Protocol apparently lost Krafton money. So if you're looking at just the horror games Glenn Schofield's done, he hasn't made money. And so according to reports and things of that nature. So you won $17 million, and it's a new game. It's not even something that you've done in the past. It's not Dead Space. It's not the Callisto Protocol 2. This is something completely new. You would be probably thinking twice about it as well. You would be thinking, like, I love Glenn Schofield. Can we do this for a cheaper amount just so, it's not as high of risk for the studio or for the publisher? Unfortunately, they weren't able to make it work. Well, Schofield added that many years in the industry, he was focusing on his art and writing, but that he missed working with great teams in the AAA space. I spent the last 15 to 20 years making big AAA titles with great teams. That's what I do. That's what I love. But with the industry on pause, AAA feels like it's a long ways away. So I'm back to my art. I miss it all, the team, the chaos, the joy of building something for fans. I'm still around making art, writing stories and ideas, and still cheering the industry on. But maybe I've directed my last game, Schofield said. I hope it's not his last game that he directed, because I love the Callisto Protocol for what it was, guys, especially now when they fixed it, the bugs, the glitches, all of that stuff. The game is incredible. Like, I love it. And their DLC, the Final Transmission, is great, man. It's awesome. It has like a horde mode and stuff, kind of like Gears of War. It's sick, dude. I just think that maybe Schofield needs to, he talks about how the AAA space has changed, and I'm sure it has to an extent, guys, but there's still AAA games that are being made, It's not that the industry is totally on pause. I think that a lot of companies out there are really looking for what are the flagship titles, and we want to invest in those. So I think what Glenn Schofield needs to do is get back into the lab of working with, maybe Activision on a Call of Duty, or working on, maybe with Krafton on PUBG. I don't know about his relationship with Krafton anymore, but I'm just saying maybe you got to get back into the lab of what are current AAA titles. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. But the last game Schofield directed was the Dead Space spiritual successor, the Callisto Protocol, at the studio he co-founded at Crafton, Striking Distance. Sadly, the Callisto Protocol received mixed reviews upon release, with many outlets criticizing bugs and performance issues in the game. Last year, Schofield said in an interview that Crafton insisted on shipping the game early after the studio had been promised more time to work on it. Schofield said that he wanted a few more months to work on the game, but the new timeline resulted in several enemy types and features being cut. All I will tell you, okay, and also with the game underperforming according to Crafton, Schofield would leave Striking Distance in 2023 and the studio would undergo multiple rounds of layoffs. Here's the other thing, guys. The other thing about that was, I believe the Callisto Protocol, let's double check. The Callisto Protocol released, I believe, December of 2022. Am I right about this? December of 2022, okay, is when the Callisto Protocol released to the world. December 2nd, 2022. The real issue here was not that, I think that it releasing early, yes, it hurt the game, but this is what hurt it the most. About a month and a half, whatever you want to call it, guys, later, Dead Space's remake came out. That's what happened to the Callisto Protocol. It released early, maybe because Crafton wanted to stay ahead of the Dead Space remake. But the fact of the matter that the Callisto Protocol was releasing around the same exact time as the Dead Space remake is absolutely, unequivocally, doesn't make any sense to me on either side, right? On either side. It doesn't make sense from EA's perspective. It doesn't make sense from Crafton's perspective. Like, it makes no sense. And maybe Glenn Schofield had a Vince Zampella moment where he was like, you know what, we're going to take on the Dead Space remake. The company that I used to work for, the franchise I started, well, I'm going to prove that the Callisto Protocol is bigger than Dead Space or something of that nature. I don't know if he had that kind of ego move, but Vince Zampella did that similar type of mindset when it came to Titanfall 2, placing Titanfall 2 smack dab in the middle of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Battlefield 1 and got completely mollywopped, and we still have never gotten a Titanfall 3. We got Apex Legends, but we still are waiting for Titanfall 3, which I don't know if we're ever going to get that. But that's a conversation for a different day. What I'm saying is that the issue with the Callisto Protocol was the time in which it did release so close to the Dead Space remake. And yes, it did have some issues. So people were turned off by it, moved on, waited for the Dead Space remake to come out. When in reality, more than likely, the Callisto Protocol should have released later in 2023. It should have came out like Halloween of 2023. Crafton has a ton of money, guys, like backing them. I mean, they obviously have PUBG. They just bought more studios. They're buying more and more studios. Like, they could have waited to release the Callisto Protocol. I'm sorry. But they didn't listen. And the question now is for all of you. Is Glenn Schofield done directing games? Was that his last game that he ever directed, that being the Callisto Protocol? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, here's what I want to move over to really quick here. Where's my thing, bro? All right. Just open this into another window here. All right. Got a couple of things I want to share with you guys really fast. Okay. Couple of quick things, guys. Obviously, very excited about the future of these up-and-coming horror games. Very excited about State of Decay 3 and it going to PlayStation 5. Gears of War E-Day going to PlayStation 5. Reportedly, okay? These are the reports that are coming out. We don't know for sure yet. But I got to give some massive kudos and props and shout-outs to all of you. Check this out. I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of you guys. We are growing every single day on Horror Theory, and it's all because of you guys. Brandon Blackfire, appreciate you for for subscribing. The Welsh Gamer, Ultrazilla79, Young Myros, Blue, Tio Davis. I'm grateful for all of you guys. Some of you who are subscribing to the channel. Every day we're growing, and it's because of each and every one of you. I'm really excited about the future. We just started, guys, really kind of ramping up what we're doing on our X page or on our Twitter, so you guys can check that out, just at Theory of Horror. And look, we've got a ton of content that's coming your way. Tons of content. If you're into the horror gaming and into what we're doing here, talking about like State of Decay and all these different horror games that are up and coming, we have a ton of content coming. If you like Gears of War specifically, my channel, Animal Zero, you guys can check out all of my Gears of War content. And then on Animal, and this leads me to the next thing, guess what? We've got a recruitment challenge. Now, this is for all of you guys and girls out there that are specifically into first-person shooters, right? If you're into Call of Duty, if you're into, Titanfall, to Valorant, to Battlefield, CS, whatever it is that you're into, Animal is doing a 50,000 content creator recruitment challenge, guys and girls. So if you guys are into first-person shooters, go ahead, submit responses or your content, whether it's streamers, editors, designers, podcasters. You can submit all your stuff to wereanimalgg@gmail.com if you guys are interested. That is Animal's 50,000 subscriber recruitment challenge for content creators, editors, designers, and streamers. So also, I wanted to mention to all of you that we are also, very excitingly, we are going to be, we want to get some of you guys and girls on Horror Theory to talk about everything in the world of horror and horror gaming specifically, and giving all of you some insight into what it all means. So we are going, a lot of people have been asking us, a lot of people want to come on the show to talk about horror and about like State of Decay, Gears of War, Resident Evil, Dying Like the Beast. A lot of people want to come on the show, and we're going to have a way that you guys are going to be able to have your voices heard on the show as well in the future. Just give us time, guys. The best way right now is going to be, the link down below. It's a tip link, helps out the show, and also we can go ahead and go over all of those questions live here on Horror Theory. But with that down and out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for joining us on this episode of Horror Theory. Thank you for all the new subscribers, all of the new members. I truly, guys, I'm grateful. I'm appreciative to all of you. You guys are the lifeblood of Horror Theory. Like, you really are. And we are going to continue to produce the content. You guys are going to be the determining factors of where we go with this thing. And so, like I said, we're at 1.42K, and I am like elated. I love you guys, really, really appreciate you guys. But if you guys did enjoy this episode of Horror Theory, make sure that you leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, just keep grinding. And as always, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.